Tony jumped up so fast his chair screamed across the floor. The sound was loud and sharp like breaking glass. His big hands grabbed the edge of the table. His knuckles turned white from squeezing so hard. His eyes were wild and scared like a trapped animal in a cage. Amelia saw sweat running down his face in little rivers even though the restaurant was cold from the winter air outside. He shouted something she could not hear over the piano music playing in the corner. His mouth opened wide, and his face turned red. Then Salvatore stood up slowly like nothing was wrong at all. His movements were calm and smooth like water. His dark coat swung as he turned his back to Tony. He walked toward the kitchen door without looking back even once. Tony's mouth opened and closed like a fish trying to breathe on land. The back of Salvatore's head disappeared through the silver kitchen doors that swung back and forth 3 times before stopping. Amelia's heart banged in her chest so hard she thought it would break through her ribs. Something very bad just happened right in front of her eyes. This story is about how a quiet waitress named Amelia saved the life of a very important man named Salvatore Maranzano. You need to stay until the end to learn the big secret she found and how one yellow envelope changed everything forever and made her into someone completely new. Comment below where you're watching from. Amelia worked at the Lexington restaurant in Chicago. The Lexington was not like other restaurants where normal people ate. It had tall gold lamps that reached up to the ceiling like trees made of light. The carpet was soft and red and felt like clouds under your feet when you walked on it. Rich people came here every single night. They wore shiny watches that cost more than Amelia made in a year. They wore long fur coats that dragged on the ground. They talked about money and trips to places Amelia had never seen in real life, only in pictures. Places like Paris and Rome and islands with blue water. Amelia was a waitress. She was 26 years old. Her feet hurt every single night, from standing and walking for 8 hours or more. Her back ached from carrying heavy trays full of plates and glasses. She wore a black dress and white apron that had to be perfect and clean, or the manager would yell at her in front of everyone. She needed this job more than anything. Her rent was due in 5 days, and she did not have enough money saved. Her little apartment had a broken heater, and she needed to pay someone to fix it before she froze. So she smiled at the customers even when they were rude, and snapped their fingers at her. She refilled their water glasses before they even asked. She learned how to be invisible. Rich people do not like to see the help. They want you there to bring them food, but they do not want to notice you or think about you. Amelia was very good at being invisible. She could move through the restaurant like a ghost. But being invisible also meant she saw things. She saw who held hands under the table when their wedding rings were on different fingers. She saw who passed money in napkins to other men in dark corners. She saw who was lying when they smiled. Watching people became her secret skill that no one knew about. Salvatore Maranzano always sat at table 19. Table 19 was in the back corner by the tall window that looked out at the snowy street, where cars drove by slowly. Salvatore came every Thursday night at exactly 8 o'clock. You could set your watch by him. He never smiled. He never joked. He never laughed at anything. He ordered the same meal every single time without looking at the menu. Chicken with lemon, green beans, no butter, water with ice, 1 glass of red wine. He ate slowly and carefully like every bite mattered. He cut his food into small pieces the same size. He chewed exactly 20 times before swallowing. Amelia counted once when she was bored and had nothing else to do. Everyone knew who Salvatore was. The other waitresses would not serve his table even when the manager asked. They were too scared. Their hands would shake when they talked about him. The manager always gave table 19 to Amelia because she never complained about anything. Salvatore was not loud or mean like the movies made mob bosses look. He did not yell or throw things. He was quiet. That made him scarier somehow. When he walked into the restaurant, everyone stopped talking for 3 seconds. The whole room went silent. Then they started talking again, but quieter, like they were in a library. Even the piano player played softer songs when Salvatore was there. Salvatore had rules that everyone knew. You did not bother him. You did not ask him Questions. You brought his food and left. If you did that, he tipped exactly 20% every single time. Not more. Not less. Always 20%. Amelia liked that. It was predictable. Predictable meant safe. Safe meant she could pay her rent. Tony was Salvatore's bodyguard. Tony was a big man with shoulders like a refrigerator. He looked like he could lift a car if he wanted to. He always wore a gray suit that looked too tight around his arms and chest. He had a thick neck and small eyes that watched everything in the room at once. Tony never ordered food. Not once in all the months. Amelia served them. He sat at the table next to Salvatore and faced the door so he could see everyone who came in. His hands stayed on the table where everyone could see them. He never hid his hands in his pockets or under the table. He never spoke unless Salvatore spoke first. Amelia thought Tony looked like a statue in a museum. A big, scary statue that could break you in half if it moved. But Tony was always calm. His face never changed no matter what happened. He breathed slowly. He blinked slowly. He was like a machine that ran on batteries. That is why Amelia noticed when things changed. When a machine breaks, you can tell right away. It was a Thursday night in February. Snow was falling outside in thick white clouds that covered the street and the cars. The restaurant was warm and smelled like butter and wine and fresh bread. Amelia was tired. She was more tired than usual. She had worked a double shift because another waitress called in sick at the last minute. Her feet felt like they were on fire. Her lower back throbbed with pain every time she bent down. She wanted to go home and sleep for 3 days straight. Salvatore walked in at exactly 8 o'clock. Like always. He took off his long black coat and handed it to the coat check girl, who took it with shaking hands. Tony followed behind him like a shadow follows a person. They walked to table 19 together. Salvatore sat down in his usual seat. Tony sat at the table next to him facing the door. Like always. But something was wrong. Amelia felt it in her stomach before she saw it with her eyes. A cold feeling like ice water. Tony's hands were not still. His right hand kept moving to his jacket pocket, and then back to the table. Over and over. His left hand drummed his fingers very fast. Against the wood. Tap, 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 tap. The sound was annoying and nervous. He kept looking at his watch. Not just once or twice. Every 30 seconds he would lift his wrist and stare at the silver watch like he was waiting for something very important to happen. His jaw muscles were tight and hard. Amelia could see them moving under his skin like little snakes crawling around. His shoulders were pulled up high near his ears. He looked like he was ready to run or fight, or both at the same time. This was not the calm Tony she knew. This Tony was scared. This Tony was waiting for something bad. Amelia brought Salvatore his water with ice in a tall glass. She set it down gently, without making any noise at all. Salvatore did not look up. He never did. He was reading the menu even though he always ordered the same thing. Amelia walked back to the kitchen and watched through the round window in the door. She pretended to check on other tables, but her eyes kept going back to Tony. Tony kept checking his watch. His eyes kept darting to the front door, waiting for something or someone. His leg bounced up and down under the table. Amelia could see the table shaking just a little bit. She had never seen Tony move like that before. Something was very wrong. Then the man in the big coat walked in. He was not a regular customer. Amelia had never seen him before in her life. He wore a long brown coat that went down to his knees. It was too big for him, like he borrowed it from someone else. His face was hidden under a black hat pulled down low. He did not wait for the host at the front. He did not look at the sign that said, "Please wait to be seated." He walked straight through the restaurant like he knew exactly where to go. People turned to look at him, but he did not care. He walked right up to Tony's table with fast steps. Tony stood up so fast, his chair made a loud scraping sound. The man in the big coat reached into his pocket. Amelia's heart stopped beating. She thought he was going to pull out a gun. She thought she was about to see someone die. But he did not pull out a gun. He pulled out a pale yellow envelope. It was thin and square, and looked full of something. Paper, maybe. Or money. He held it out to Tony with one hand. Tony looked around quickly. His eyes were wide and white. He grabbed the envelope and shoved it into his jacket, so fast Amelia almost missed it. The whole thing took less than 3 seconds. The man in the big coat turned around and walked back out the door. He did not say one word. He was gone in less than 20 seconds total. Tony sat back down. His face was red like he had been running. His hands were shaking so bad he could not keep them still. He put both palms flat on the table and pressed down hard like he was trying to stop them from moving. Salvatore did not see any of it. He was still reading the menu. He was calm. He had no idea what just happened 3 feet away from him. Amelia's stomach twisted into a knot. Something very bad was happening right now. Yellow envelopes passed in secret meant deals. Secret deals. Deals meant plans. Plans that were secret meant someone was going to get hurt, maybe killed. Amelia walked to the back storage room where they kept the extra napkins and silverware. Her mind was racing so fast she felt dizzy. Tony worked for Salvatore. Tony was supposed to protect Salvatore with his life. That was his job. That was the only thing he was supposed to do. But Tony just took a secret envelope from a stranger. That was not protection. That was betrayal. That was selling out your boss. Amelia knew the stories because she heard the other waitresses talk during their breaks. Salvatore had enemies. Lots of them. People wanted his power. People wanted him gone, dead. If Tony was helping them, then tonight was the night. Tonight was when they would try to kill Salvatore. Tonight, Salvatore was going to die unless someone stopped it. Amelia leaned against the cold metal shelf. Her hands were shaking just like Tony's hands. She was just a waitress. She was nobody. This was not her problem. This was not her business. If she got involved, she could get fired. Or worse. People who interfered with men like Salvatore disappeared. She knew that. Everyone knew that. She could pretend she saw nothing. She could finish her shift and go home and forget this ever happened. That was the smart thing to do. That was the safe thing to do. That was what any normal person would do. But Amelia had a little brother. His name was Marcus. He was 12 years old and lived with their grandmother in another city 3 hours away. Amelia sent them money every month so Marcus could play soccer and so their grandmother could buy her medicine. If she lost this job, she could not help them anymore. But if she did nothing and Salvatore died, she would never forgive herself for the rest of her life. She would see his face every time she closed her eyes. Marcus always told her she was brave when they talked on the phone. He said she was the bravest person he knew because she moved to the big city all by herself with no help. Amelia did not feel brave right now. She felt terrified. Her whole body was shaking. But Marcus believed in her. If he believed in her, then maybe she could believe in herself. Maybe she could do this. Maybe she could save someone's life. Amelia found a pen and a napkin on the storage shelf. Her hands were shaking so bad the first napkin ripped when she tried to write on it. The pen went right through the thin paper. She threw it away in the trash. She grabbed another napkin. She pressed the pen down and wrote in big clear letters that anyone could read. Tony got a yellow envelope from a stranger. You are the target tonight. Do not use the back door. She read it 3 times to make sure it made sense. It was clear. It was simple. It was the truth. Nothing more, nothing less. She folded the napkin into a small square. Her hands were still shaking. She put it in the black check holder where she would put Salvatore's bill later when he was done eating. Her heart was pounding so loud in her ears she thought everyone in the restaurant could hear it. It sounded like drums, like thunder. She walked back into the restaurant. The piano player was playing a soft, slow song. People were laughing and eating and drinking wine. Everything looked normal, but Amelia knew it was not normal at all. Everything was wrong. She walked to table 19. Her legs felt like jelly, like they might stop working and she would fall down right there. She placed the check holder on the edge of the table near Salvatore's water glass. She did not say anything. She did not look at him. She turned and walked back to the server station by the wall. She pretended to fold napkins, but she was watching and waiting and praying. Salvatore finished his chicken. He wiped his mouth with the cloth napkin and folded it neatly. He reached for the check holder. He opened it slowly. Amelia saw his eyes move across the napkin, left to right, reading. He did not look up. His face did not change at all. Not one muscle moved. He closed the check holder. He placed $200 bills inside, way more than the bill. Then he stood up slowly and buttoned his coat. 1 button, 2 buttons, 3 buttons. Tony stood up too. He looked confused. Salvatore said something quietly. Amelia could not hear the words. Tony nodded. They walked toward the back of the restaurant together. Amelia's stomach dropped like she was on a roller coaster. The back door led to the alley. That was where the trap would be. That was where men with guns would be waiting in the dark. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run over and stop them. But then Salvatore turned left, not right toward the alley door, left toward the service elevator. The service elevator was old and hidden behind a rack of wine bottles. Only staff knew it was there. Customers never used it. It went down to the basement and out to the side street, a different exit, a safe exit. Salvatore had read her note. He believed her. He was escaping. He was going to live. Tony realized too late what was happening. His face went white like paper, then red like fire. His calm mask cracked like glass breaking. All the fear came out at once. He shouted Salvatore's name. Boss! Boss, wait! People at the tables turned to look. Forks stopped moving. Tony ran toward the kitchen. He shoved open the silver doors so hard they banged against the wall with a loud crash. Amelia saw him reach into his coat. She saw the black shape of something metal. A gun. He had a gun in the restaurant. The kitchen staff screamed. A woman dropped a pot and it clattered to the floor. Soup spilled everywhere. But Salvatore was already gone. The service elevator doors were closing. Tony ran to the back alley door and kicked it open with his foot. Cold air rushed in. Amelia heard shouting from outside. More than one voice. Angry voices. The trap was out there waiting in the dark alley. But Salvatore was not there. The plan had failed. Tony stood in the doorway breathing hard. His chest moved up and down fast. Then he turned and looked back into the restaurant. His eyes scanned the room. Looking. Searching. Trying to figure out what went wrong. Trying to figure out who told. His eyes landed on every face. Amelia ducked behind the server station. She made herself small. Her whole body was shaking so hard her teeth chattered. She grabbed her coat and purse from the back room. She did not clock out. She did not say goodbye to anyone. She ran out the front door into the freezing snow. The walk home felt like it took forever. Every step felt like a mile. Snow fell in her face and melted into cold water that ran down her neck and soaked her collar. Her feet slipped on the icy sidewalk. She almost fell twice. Every car that drove by made her jump. Every shadow looked like a person hiding. She kept looking over her shoulder every few seconds. The street was empty, but she felt eyes on her, watching, following, waiting. She turned down her street. The streetlights were dim and yellow and flickering. Trash cans lined the curb. She heard a noise behind one of them. A scraping sound, like shoes on concrete. Like someone trying to be quiet but failing. Amelia ran. She ran as fast as she could. Her lungs burned. Her legs hurt. Her purse banged against her side. Her keys jingled in her hand. She reached her apartment building and shoved the key into the lock. Her hands were shaking so bad it took 3 tries. The key kept missing the hole. Finally it went in. The door opened. She stumbled inside and slammed it shut. Behind her, she locked the deadbolt and the chain. She leaned against the door and slid down to the floor. She sat there in the dark hallway. She could not stop shaking. She could not catch her breath. She had just saved a mob boss. She had just ruined a murder plot. People were going to come, looking for her. People who killed for money. She was not invisible anymore. She was seen. And being seen was dangerous. Her phone rang. The sound was so loud in the quiet hallway it made her scream. She pulled it out of her purse with shaking hands. Unknown number. She stared at it. She almost did not answer. But something made her press the green button. Maybe curiosity. Maybe fear. She held the phone to her ear but did not speak. She just listened. A woman's voice came through. Cold, calm, professional, like a lawyer or a doctor. Amelia Jackson. You helped Salvatore Maranzano tonight. He is safe. For now. But you are not safe. We need to meet. Tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock. Rosie's Cafe on 3rd Street. Come alone. Do not tell anyone. If you do not come, we cannot protect you. There are people looking for you right now. People who want to know who warned Salvatore. Come, tomorrow, and we will keep you safe. Do not come, and you are on your own. The line went dead. Just like that. Amelia stared at the phone. Her heart was still racing. She did not know who that woman was. But the woman knew her full name. The woman knew what she did. The woman knew where she would be tomorrow. There was no going back now. Amelia was part of this world whether she wanted to be or not. She did not sleep that night. Not 1 minute. She sat on her bed with all the lights on and stared at the door. Every sound made her jump. The heater clanking when it tried to turn on. The money, people upstairs walking around. A car alarm going off down the street. A dog barking. The wind hitting the window. Everything sounded like danger. She thought about running. She could pack a bag right now and take the bus to her grandmother's house. She could hide there. But the woman on the phone said they could not protect her if she did not come. That meant someone else was looking for her. Someone dangerous. Someone who killed people. If she ran, they would find her eventually. If she hid, they would find her grandmother and Marcus. She could not let that happen. She had to face this. She had to meet them. When the sun finally came up, Amelia felt like a zombie. Her eyes were red and dry. Her head hurt. Her whole body ached. She put on clean jeans and a sweater. She brushed her teeth. She looked at herself in the mirror. She looked scared. She looked small. She looked tired. But she was still here. She was still alive. That had to mean something. She was stronger than she thought. Rosie's Cafe was a small place with red booths and a counter that served eggs and coffee. It smelled like bacon and toast. Amelia walked in at exactly 9 o'clock. The bell above, the door jingled. There were only 3 people inside. An old man reading a newspaper at the counter. A woman in a business suit typing on a laptop in the corner booth, and Salvatore Maranzano sitting in the back booth by the window. He wore a dark blue suit and a gray tie. His hands were folded on the table in front of him. When he saw Amelia, he nodded once. Just once. Amelia walked over on shaking legs and sat down across from him. The booth was small. She could smell his cologne. Up close, he looked older than she thought. He had lines around his eyes. Deep lines like cracks in old paint. Gray hair at his temples. But his eyes were sharp and clear like glass. He looked at her like he could see everything inside her head. All her thoughts. All her fears. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The silence was heavy. Then Salvatore said in a quiet voice, "You saved my life last night." His voice was deep and calm. Amelia did not know what to say, so she just nodded. Salvatore continued, "Tony worked for me for 7 years. 7 years. I trusted him. I paid him well, very well. I protected his family when they had problems. I paid for his mother's hospital bills. But he sold me out for $50,000. $50,000 in a yellow envelope. That is what my life was worth to him. He made a deal with the Costello family. They wanted me gone. Dead. Tony was supposed to lead me out the back door where 3 men were waiting with guns. They would have shot me in the alley and left me there in the snow. You stopped that from happening with a napkin and a pen." He paused. His eyes never left hers. "Tony is gone now. Permanently. He will not hurt anyone ever again." Amelia felt cold all over. Her fingers went numb. Gone permanently meant dead. Tony was dead. Because of her note. Because she interfered. Because she could not stay silent. Salvatore must have seen the fear on her face because he said, "Do not feel guilty." Tony made his choice when he took that envelope. You made yours when you wrote that note. You chose courage. That is rare. Most people choose safety. They choose to look away. You did not look away. You acted. That matters. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small black box. He slid it across the table. Amelia opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a thin silver necklace with a small charm. The charm was shaped like a key. It was simple and beautiful. Salvatore said, "This necklace means you are under my protection. No one in this city will touch you. No one will threaten you. No one will hurt you or your family. You are safe now. But protection comes with a choice. You can take the necklace and go back to your life. Keep working at the Lexington. Keep living in your apartment. I will make sure no one ever bothers you. You will be safe. Or you can step into my world. I will train you. I will teach you how to survive, how to see threats before they happen, how to protect yourself and the people you love. You will have power. Real power. But power is not free. It costs something. It is lonely. It is dangerous. It changes you forever. You will not be the same person. You must choose right now." Amelia stared at the necklace. The silver caught the light from the window. It was beautiful and simple. She thought about her life, working double shifts every week, aching feet every night, rude customers snapping their fingers, always being invisible, always being scared, never having enough money, worrying about rent, worrying about Marcus, worrying about everything. She thought about last night, how terrified she was, but also how alive she felt. She made a choice, and it mattered. She saved someone. She was not invisible last night. She was seen, Salvatore said. Courage is not being unafraid. Everyone is afraid of something. Courage is choosing to move forward even when you are scared, even when you want to run, even when staying silent would be easier. You have that kind of courage. That is why I am offering you this choice. Amelia picked up the necklace. The silver was cold in her hand. She put it around her neck and closed the dong clasp. It felt heavy. Heavier than it looked. Salvatore smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. His whole face changed. "Good," he said. "Your training starts tomorrow morning. 6 o'clock. Someone will pick you up." Everything changed the moment she put on that necklace. Amelia walked out of the cafe and the world felt different. A police officer on the corner saw her and nodded. Not a friendly nod. A nod of respect. Like she was important. Like she mattered. She walked past a group of men standing outside a bar smoking cigarettes. They stopped talking when they saw her. They moved aside to let her pass. One of them muttered under his breath, "Maranzano's girl." She heard it. They wanted her to hear it. She was not invisible anymore. She was untouchable, but untouchable also meant alone. People did not talk to her the same way. The next day at work, the other waitresses stopped inviting her to lunch. They stopped asking her to cover their shifts. They stopped making eye contact. The manager did not yell at her anymore, but he also did not look her in the eye when he talked to her. She was separate now. Protected, but separate. She realized protection was a kind of prison. You were safe, but you could not connect with normal people. People were too afraid to get close to you. Too afraid of what you represented. The next morning, a black car picked her up outside her apartment at exactly 6 o'clock. The driver did not speak. He did not say good morning. He just opened the door and waited. She got in. The car was clean and smelled like leather. They drove for 20 minutes to the south side of the city, parts of Chicago Amelia had never been to before. The car stopped in front of a building that looked like an old warehouse. Brick walls, broken windows on the top floor, graffiti on the side. But inside it was completely different. Clean, organized, bright lights. There were rooms with mats on the floor, rooms with computers and files on desks, rooms with weapons locked behind glass cases. A man was waiting for her in the main room. He was tall and muscular with a shaved head and a scar on his chin that looked like someone cut him with a knife. He said his name was Marcus, not her brother Marcus, a different Marcus. He was her trainer. He did not smile. He did not shake her hand. He did not welcome her. He just looked at her and said, "Training starts now. No breaks. No complaining. No excuses. If you quit, you walk out that door, and you are on your own. Salvatore will not protect quitters. Understood?" Amelia nodded. Her throat was too dry to speak. Marcus said, "Good, run." She ran. She ran on a treadmill that faced a blank, white wall. She ran until her lungs burned, and her legs felt like rubber. Sweat poured down her face and back. Her shirt was soaked. When she thought she could not run one more step, Marcus yelled, "Faster!" So she ran faster. Her chest hurt. Her legs screamed. She wanted to stop. She wanted to quit, but she did not. When she finally stopped, she collapsed on the floor. Her whole body shook. She could not breathe. Marcus did not help her up. He stood over her and said, "In this world, if you fall, no one picks you up. You get up yourself or you die on the ground. Get up." Amelia got up. Her legs shook, but she stood. Marcus nodded. Again. She ran again. And again. And again. For 2 hours straight. By the end, she could not feel her legs. The next part of training was observation. Marcus showed her photos of people in crowds, busy streets, restaurants, parks. He gave her 10 seconds to look at each photo. Then he took the photo away and asked her questions. How many people were wearing hats? What color was the woman's purse? Was the man on the left holding anything in his right hand? How many exits were visible? At first, Amelia got most of the answers wrong. She could not remember. She did not see the details. But Marcus made her do it again and again. Hours and hours of looking at photos and remembering details. Her brain hurt worse than her legs. Her eyes burned, but slowly over days and weeks she got better. She started seeing things she missed before. The way someone stood. The direction they were looking. What their hands were doing. The small things that told you if someone was nervous, or lying, or dangerous, or hiding something. Then came the physical training. Marcus taught her how to block a punch, how to twist out of someone's grip, how to use her size to her advantage. "You are small," he said. "That means you are fast and hard to hit. Use that. Do not try to overpower someone bigger than you. Outsmart them. Be faster." He grabbed her wrist hard. His grip was like iron. "Break free. Now." Amelia pulled and twisted, but his grip was too strong. She could not get loose. "Wrong," Marcus said. "Stop thinking. React." He grabbed her again. This time Amelia twisted her wrist toward his thumb, the weakest part of any grip. She slipped free. Marcus nodded. Better. Again. They practiced for hours every day. Grab and escape. Grab and escape. Over and over. Her wrists were bruised and sore, but she did not stop. She could not stop. Marcus taught her how to notice when someone was following her. "Always know your exits," he said. "Count them when you walk into a room. Know where the doors are. Know where the windows are. Always have a way out. Never sit with your back to the door." He taught her how to read body language. A liar touches their face a lot. They rub their nose. They cover their mouth. They avoid eye contact or they stare too much. A person planning to attack you shifts their weight to their front foot first. Watch the feet. Feet do not lie. Feet tell you everything. He taught her how to spot danger in a crowd. Look for the person who does not fit. The person wearing a coat when it is hot. The person with their hands in their pockets. The person who watches you too long. Trust your gut. If something feels wrong, it probably is wrong. Every day was harder than the last. Amelia woke up sore. Her muscles ached. Her body hurt in places she did not know could hurt. She went to bed exhausted. She fell asleep the second her head hit the pillow, but she did not quit. She thought about Marcus, her little brother, every day. She thought about her grandmother. She thought about the necklace around her neck. She was doing this for them, to keep them safe, to make sure no one could ever threaten them, to make sure she would never be powerless again. Weeks passed. Then months. Amelia got stronger, faster, smarter. Her body changed. She had muscles now. Her hands were calloused. Her reflexes were sharp. She could spot a threat from across the street. She could tell when someone was lying just by watching how their coat, collar rubbed against their belt when they shifted their weight. Small details. Everything was about small details. That was the test Marcus gave her one day. A woman named Olivia came to the warehouse. She wore an expensive black dress and high heels. Her hair was pulled back tight in a bun. Her makeup was perfect. She looked at Amelia like she was a bug on the floor. Something small and annoying. Olivia said, "Salvatore sent me to see if you are ready. I am going to ask you 3 questions. You will answer them. If you lie, I will know. If you hesitate, I will know. If you try to say what you think I want to hear, I will know. Understood?" Amelia nodded. Her mouth was dry. Olivia asked, "Why did you help Salvatore that night?" Amelia said, "Because it was the right thing to do." Olivia stared at her. Her eyes were cold. "That is a nice answer. Very noble. But is it true? Really true?" Amelia met her eyes. She did not look away. "Yes. I did not know him. I did not owe him anything. I had never spoken to him. But I saw something wrong, and I stopped it. That is who I am. That is what I do." Olivia's face did not change. She asked, "Are you afraid of dying?" Amelia thought about lying. She thought about saying no to sound brave. But Olivia said she would know. So Amelia said the truth. "Yes. I am afraid of dying. I am afraid of pain. I am afraid of a lot of things. But I am more afraid of being weak. I am more afraid of being helpless. I am more afraid of letting fear control me." Olivia nodded slowly. She asked the last question. "If Salvatore asked you to hurt someone to protect him, would you do it?" This was the hard question. The test question. Amelia felt her stomach twist. She thought about Tony. Gone permanently. She thought about the yellow envelope. She said, "If someone is trying to kill him, yes, I would stop them. I would do what I had to do to keep him alive. I would not enjoy it, but I would do it." Olivia smiled. It was a cold smile that did not reach her eyes. She turned to Marcus and said, "She is ready." The final test came 2 weeks later. Salvatore invited Amelia to a party. Not a regular party with music and dancing. A cocktail event at a fancy hotel downtown. Rich people. Dangerous people. People who smiled with their mouths but not their eyes. People who planned your death while shaking your hand. Salvatore said, "You will meet my associates tonight. They will test you. Not with questions, not with words, with observation. They will watch how you move, how you speak, how you react, how you handle pressure. Do not try to impress them. Do not try to be someone you are not. Just be yourself. The version of yourself you have become." Amelia wore a simple black dress. No jewelry except the silver necklace. She wore low heels because Marcus taught her to always be able to run. She walked into the hotel ballroom and felt 100 eyes turn to look at her. The room was huge with crystal chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, white marble floors, gold decorations everywhere, men in expensive suits, women in glittering gowns that probably cost thousands of dollars. Everyone was smiling but no one looked happy. Their smiles were fake, plastic. Salvatore stood by the Window talking to an older man with white hair and a cane. He saw Amelia and nodded. She walked over. Her heels clicked on the marble floor. Every step felt loud. The older man looked at her and said, "So this is the girl who saved you." "She does not look like much. She looks like a child," Salvatore said calmly. "Looks deceive. That is the point. That is why she is valuable." The man laughed. It was a dry laugh, like crackling paper. He held out his hand. "I am Vincent. I have heard your story. Very brave, or very stupid. I have not decided which yet." Amelia shook his hand. His grip was firm but not aggressive. His hand was cold and bony. She said, "Maybe both." Vincent laughed again. "I like her. She has spirit." Throughout the night, people approached her. They came in waves, one after another. They asked her questions that seemed casual but were not casual at all. They were testing her, probing, looking for weakness. "Where are you from, Amelia? What do your parents do? Do you have family in the city? Go. What made you want to work for Salvatore?" Amelia answered honestly but carefully. She did not volunteer extra information. She did not ramble. She watched their faces while she spoke, their hands, the way they shifted their weight when she answered. One woman in a red dress with diamonds around her neck asked, "Are you afraid working for Salvatore? Do you worry about what might happen to you?" Amelia looked her in the eye and said, "No. I am not afraid of working for Salvatore. I am afraid of working for no one, of being powerless, of being invisible. Salvatore gave me a choice. I chose power. I chose to be seen. I chose to matter." The woman smiled and walked away without another word. A man in a gray suit asked, "What would you do if someone threatened your family?" Amelia said, "I would remove the threat. Permanently." The man nodded and moved on. Later, Salvatore found her by the bar. She was drinking water, not alcohol. Marcus taught her to always stay sharp. Always stay aware. Salvatore said, "You did very well tonight. They were testing you, seeing if you would break under pressure, seeing if you were loyal or just opportunistic, seeing if you could handle this world. You passed every test. Vincent told me you have ice in your veins." That is a compliment coming from him. Amelia felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She had been holding her breath all night. Salvatore continued, "You are no longer a pawn, Amelia. You are a player now. That means you have value. That means people will listen when you speak. That means you have power. But it also means you have enemies. People who see you as a threat. People who want to use you or hurt you. Never forget that. Never get comfortable. The moment you get comfortable, you die." 3 months after the night at the Lexington, Amelia stood on the rooftop of Salvatore's building. It was late at night. The city spread out below her in a blanket of lights. Yellow lights, white lights, red lights. The city looked beautiful from up here. She could see the Lexington from here, a tiny glowing square in the distance. She thought about the girl she used to be. That tired waitress with aching feet. That invisible girl who smiled at rude customers. That scared girl who worried about rent. That girl was gone. Dead. Amelia was not afraid anymore. She was not invisible. She had power. She had skills. She had people who respected her. People who feared her. But she also had loneliness. Deep loneliness that sat in her chest like a stone. She could not call her old friends. They would not understand her life now. They would ask questions she could not answer. She could not go back to her grandmother's house for visits, not without bringing danger. With her, she was free but she was trapped, protected but isolated. She touched the silver necklace around her neck. It felt heavier now than it did the first day, like it weighed 100 pounds. Salvatore joined her on the rooftop. He moved quietly like a cat. He stood beside her and looked out, at the city. He did not speak for a long time. Then he said, "Do you regret your choice? Tell me the truth." Amelia thought about it. Really thought about it. She was honest with herself. She said, "No, I do not regret my choice. I regret that I had to make the choice at all. I regret that. The world is the way it is. But once the choice was in front of me, I chose growth over safety. I chose strength over comfort. I chose myself over fear. I would make the same choice again." Salvatore nodded slowly. That is wisdom. Most people never learn that lesson. They stay safe and small their whole lives. They never take risks. They never grow. They die having never really lived. You chose to be dangerous, to be seen, to be powerful. That takes courage. Real courage. He turned to leave, then stopped. He looked back at her. Tony thought he could buy his way to a better life. With that yellow envelope, he thought $50,000 was power. He thought money would save him. But real power is not money. Money disappears. Money gets stolen. Money gets spent. Real power is knowing who you are and never apologizing for it. Real power is making hard choices and living with them. Real power is courage. You have that, Amelia. You had it that night when you wrote that note. You had it when you put on this necklace. You had it when you chose training over running away. Never lose that. Never let this world make you soft. Never let comfort make you weak. He walked to the door and disappeared inside. Amelia stood alone on the rooftop long after he left. The wind was cold, but she did not mind. She liked the cold now. It made her feel alive. It reminded her she was real. She thought about Marcus, her little brother. She sent him and her grandmother money every week now. More than before. Much more. Enough for a new heater. Enough for Marcus to join the soccer team at school. Enough for new clothes and good food. He called her last week and said, "You are my hero, Amelia. Everyone at school thinks I am lying when I tell them about you, but I know you are real. I know you are strong. I want to be brave like you when I grow up." She told him, "Being brave does not mean you are not scared, Marcus. It means you do not let fear make your choices for you. It means you act even when you are terrified. That is the only kind of bravery that matters." She hoped he understood. She hoped he would never have to make the kind of choice she made. But if he did, she hoped he would choose himself. Choose growth. Choose to be seen. Amelia looked down at the silver key hanging from her necklace. She held it in her hand. It was cold against her palm. It was not just a symbol of protection. It was a reminder. A reminder that she unlocked her own cage. No one gave her freedom. No one handed her power. She took it, with a napkin and a pen and a choice to act when it would have been easier to stay silent, when it would have been safer to look away. She was not just a waitress anymore. She was not just Salvatore's protege. She was not just someone's employee or someone's tool. She was Amelia Jackson, survivor, fighter, a woman who chose her own path, even when it was dangerous, even when it was lonely, even when it cost her everything. She used to be. She smiled at the city below. The lights twinkled like stars. Somewhere out there, another person was facing an impossible choice right now. Another person was deciding between safety and courage, between comfort and growth, between staying invisible and being seen. She hoped they chose courage. She hoped they chose themselves. Because the world needed more people who were willing to act, willing to risk, willing to be dangerous when danger was necessary, willing to stand up when everyone else sat down, willing to speak when everyone else stayed silent. Amelia had been that person 3 months ago. She had been a nobody, a tired waitress who wanted to go home and sleep, but she saw something wrong, and she acted. She interfered. She saved a life, and in saving his life she saved her own. She became someone new, someone stronger, someone who mattered. The price was high. Loneliness. Danger. A life she could never fully explain to the people she loved. But the reward was higher. Power. Strength. the ability to protect herself and her family, the ability to walk down any street without fear, the ability to look at herself in the mirror and feel proud. She thought about Tony one last time. Tony, who took a yellow envelope full of money and betrayed the man who trusted him. Tony, who thought $50,000 was worth more than loyalty. Tony, who died in an alley somewhere because he made the wrong choice. She did not feel sorry for him. He chose his path. She chose hers. That was how the world worked. You made choices, and you lived with them, or you died with them. Amelia turned away from the edge of the rooftop. She walked to the door. Tomorrow she had work to do. Salvatore was sending her on her first real assignment. Something important, something dangerous. He said she was ready. Marcus, her trainer, said she was ready. Olivia said she was ready. But most importantly, Amelia knew she was ready. She had been training for 3 months, running, fighting, learning, observing, becoming someone new, someone powerful, someone who could survive in a world that ate weak people alive. She opened the door and walked down the stairs. Her footsteps echoed in the empty stairwell. She was not afraid of tomorrow. She was not afraid of the danger. She was not afraid of dying. She was only afraid of one thing now. She was afraid of going back. Afraid of becoming invisible again. Afraid of being that scared waitress who smiled at rude customers and worried about rent. That version of herself was dead, and Amelia would never let her come back to life. She reached the bottom of the stairs and walked out into the cold night. The black car was waiting for her like always. The driver opened the door. She got in. The car pulled away from the curb and drove through the city streets. Amelia looked out the window at the people walking on the sidewalks. Normal people. People with normal lives. People who would never understand the world she lived in now. She used to be one of them. She used to be normal. But normal meant powerless. Normal meant invisible. Normal meant afraid. She was not normal anymore. She was extraordinary. And extraordinary came with a price, but it also came with power. The car stopped in front of her. Apartment building. She got out and walked inside. She climbed the stairs to her apartment. She unlocked the door and stepped inside. The apartment was dark and quiet. She turned on the lights. Everything looked the same as it did 3 months ago, but everything was different. She was different. She walked to the mirror in the bathroom and looked at herself. Her face looked harder now. Her eyes looked older. She had muscles in her arms and shoulders. She stood differently. Stronger, more confident. She barely recognized herself, but she liked what she saw. She liked this version of Amelia better. She touched the silver necklace one more time. The key charm was warm now from her body heat. She thought about Salvatore's words. Real power is knowing who you are and never apologizing for it. She knew who she was now. She was a woman who acted, a woman who chose courage, a woman who saved a life and changed her own forever. She was a woman who wore a silver key around her neck and walked through the city untouchable. She was a woman who trained every day to be stronger and smarter and more dangerous. She was a woman who would never be invisible again. Amelia Jackson chose growth over safety that night at the Lexington. She chose strength over comfort. She chose power over invisibility. She chose herself. And that choice changed everything. That choice made her who she was now. That choice saved 2 lives, Salvatore's and her own. The question is not whether she made the right choice. The question is, what would you choose? If you saw something wrong, would you act or would you look away? If someone offered you power, would you take it or would you stay safe? If you had the chance to become someone new, someone stronger, someone extraordinary, would you take that chance? Or would you stay exactly who you are right now? Amelia chose to change. She chose to grow. She chose to be dangerous. What would you choose? Don't forget to like and subscribe to get stories like this. Thank you.